In the glittering city of Valencia, where oranges bloomed and the night hummed with serenades, lived Rafael de Luna, a man crafted by charm, molded by lust, and fueled by the thrill of conquest. He was the kind of man who could undress a woman's soul with a single glance, and he knew it. He made many women fall, and when they did, he let them crash. He had a type: lonely, innocent, trusting. He whispered dreams into their ears and vanished before morning. Mothers warned their daughters about him, but his smile always won, until he met Carla Montero. Carla wasn't like the others. Daughter of Jack Montero, one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in Spain. She had grown up in gilded rooms, but walked through life barefoot, humble and kind. She had never needed love until Rafael found her. At first it was another game, but Carla didn't just give her heart, she gave her soul. And something strange happened to Rafael. He fell in love too. For the first time he thought of forever. They spent summer nights walking the beaches, whispering names for their unborn children. When Carla told him she was pregnant, she was glowing with joy. She believed he'd marry her. He'd promised. But Rafael, scared of what it meant to be tied down, tried to sabotage the dream.
I will marry you. But only if your family builds us a mansion in 7 days. A kingdom worthy of you.
He thought Jack would refuse. He thought he could escape without guilt. But Jack, proud and powerful, accepted the challenge. Hundreds of workers were hired. Machinery rumbled day and night. Food was delivered to the site by the truckload. Jack worked like a man possessed. By the 6th day, the mansion stood tall. White marble walls, towering columns, a grand piano room where Carla imagined raising their child. Rafael stared at the almost finished palace and panicked. The joke had become a promise he didn't want to keep. That night he kissed Carla on the forehead and whispered,
I'm going to get my mother and your parents. When I return, we'll marry.
And then he vanished. Rafael lived in a quiet village now. He had cleaned up, no more games. He met a sweet woman named Laurie, and truly, this time he loved her. They planned a modest wedding, flowers, family, hope. On to the morning of the wedding, Rafael stood in front of the mirror, buttoning his crisp white shirt. He smiled. Until something moved under his skin. First a small ripple in his cheek, then a white worm slipped from his tear duct, squirming down his face. He screamed. He pulled his shirt open. Cockroaches spilled from his chest, from under his skin, from his mouth, from his ears. They poured like oil. He screamed and clawed at his body, as if he could peel the curse off.
Ah! Make it stop! Make it stop! Ah!
His skin became translucent, veins darkening like ink beneath glass. His hair fell out in clumps. His teeth rotted in minutes. His body smelled of soil, like something already buried. Laurie, horrified and heartbroken, found Rafael's mother, Josephine, and the two made their way to the only person who could hold such hatred, Jack Montero. They arrived at the old mansion, now weathered and cloaked in vines. The piano room was quiet. Dust covered the cradle Carla once chose. They found Jack sitting in a rocking chair, staring at a portrait. Carla in a white dress holding her baby. A single tear slid down his cheek.
She loved him.
Carla waited in her white dress. She waited through the night. She waited into labor. Her child was born healthy, but Carla, heartbroken, abandoned and torn, began to bleed from within. Her father held her hand as her breaths grew shallow. She died that night, and something inside Jack Montero broke. Jack turned to an old woman named Abuela Rosaria, who lived in the shadows of the Pyrenees, a known bruji, feared by all.
I want his beauty to want the world to see the monster he is, and I want his soul to know what it means to be left behind.
Rosaria nodded, and the curse was born. A slow, patient death, a mirror that would reflect not who he was, but what he'd done.
She died waiting for him.
Laurie fell to her knees. Josephine begged for mercy.
I forgive him. But curses don't wait for forgiveness.
They returned to find Raphael lying in his wedding clothes, still twitching, still breathing shallowly, eyes wide open as if staring into hell itself.
Carla, I was coming back. I swear.
He whispered one last time, and then he died. The mansion still stands. Locals say on some nights you can hear a woman singing softly in the piano room, a lullaby for a child never raised, and a love never fulfilled. And sometimes mirrors in the house reflect a man with a smile full of worms. The island of Velmora had long feared the silence of its womb. No child had cried there for 30 years, but on a storm-tossed night under a full blood-colored moon, 2 children were born in separate homes, a girl with skin like moonlight, and a boy with eyes as dark as coral reefs. The villagers cheered, calling them the Moon Children, believing they would bring blessings to the island. But not all rejoiced. The boy's mother felt something sinister in the air, an electric dread in the salt wind, a whisper in the waves that seemed to call her son by name. Against the villagers' pleas, she fled with her child, leaving behind a legacy unfinished. Years passed. The island faded into myth, a forgotten paradise whispered of in travel blogs and obscure magazines. Until Frederick and his new bride Eva, craving isolation and beauty, booked a trip to an untouched island, Velmora. The locals welcomed them with cryptic smiles. Nights were filled with intoxicating stars, but the days brought strange signs. Red algae foaming on the shore, octopus ink streaking the rocks, and villagers leaving offerings near the sea. One night Eva vanished. No struggle, no trace. Just a shattered necklace and a trail of wet, inhuman footprints leading to the ocean. Frederick was found days later, wandering near a coral graveyard with no memory of her. The island's elder, rich, charismatic and oddly ageless, took Frederick in and introduced him to his daughter Isla. Isla was ethereal, pale as foam, with long dark hair cascading like seaweed. She sat always in a silver wheelchair, her legs hidden under flowing silk. She spoke little, smiled often, and stared at the sea like it whispered secrets only she could hear. Frederick found himself enchanted, drawn to her mystery. She knew things about him, his dreams, his fears, even how he took his coffee. The connection was magnetic. They fell in love quickly, too quickly. The elder smiled. But something wasn't right. Her room smelled faintly of brine. He once saw her floating inches above the floor when she slept. And once, while walking the beach at midnight, he saw her sitting in her chair facing the tide. Yet her reflection in the water was that of a towering creature with writhing limbs. On their wedding day, Isla wore a dress of glimmering scales. As they exchanged vows on the beach, the ocean boiled behind them. Then the sky darkened. The elder, now transformed into a regal being crowned in coral and pearls, revealed the truth. Isla was his daughter, half human, half octopus. She was born to rule the depths, to protect Velmora and Frederick. Frederick was the boy born under the same moon. He had returned as fate commanded. The memory surged back. Eva's scream, her body pulled below by massive tentacles. It was Isla, or her kin. It didn't matter now. Frederick ran. He found a boat, tried to flee, but the sea rose with fury. A wave the size of a cathedral crashed upon him, dragging him into the deep. He awoke in a cave of glowing jellyfish and ancient coral. Isla sat beside him, her legs now fully revealed, long sinuous tentacles curling like shadowed vines. She touched his face.
You are the sea. You just forgot.
He screamed, fought, cried, and slowly he stopped. The sea changed him. Memories returned. His veins pulsed with brine. He heard the language of the ocean. In time, he no longer wanted to leave. Velmora is still marked on no maps. But sometimes when storms roll across the Pacific and the moon turns red, sailors speak of music from beneath the waves, and of a man and a woman dancing in the dark, keeping watch over their ancient island. In the heart of Ravenswood, where the gnarled trees stood like sentinels and the wind carried murmurs of ancient secrets, a young woman named Clara lived in solitude. Her life was stitched together with monotony, days spent in her quiet cottage crafting intricate embroidery for the villagers. But beneath her soft-spoken demeanor and unassuming life, Clara harbored a secret, a yearning so intense it gnawed at her like a hungry flame. Clara's heart belonged to Adrian, a man whose charm seemed almost otherworldly. He moved through the market with effortless grace, his dark hair catching the sunlight, his laughter igniting smiles wherever he went. To him, Clara was little more than a shadow, a face among many. Yet to her he was everything, a dream too vivid to ignore, a longing too sharp to escape. It was desperation, not courage, that led Clara to the edge of the forest on a storm-soaked evening. The villagers whispered of old Maud, the crone who dwelled in a crumbling cottage deep within the woods, practicing arts that defied the natural order. Clara had heard the warnings, but love, unanswered and unrelenting, drove her forward. When she reached Maud's door, the storm's howls were drowned by the beating of her own heart. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of herbs and decay. The old woman, her frame bent like the trees outside, studied Clara with a gaze clouded by age, but sharp with something far more profound. There were no questions about why she had come. Clara's trembling hands and tear-streaked face spoke louder than words. A small vial, black and cold to the touch, was placed in her hands. Its contents shimmered crimson in the dim light, as though alive. The spell, Maud had warned, would bind Adrian's heart to hers, but such bonds were unnatural, fragile, and fraught with peril. Yet Clara, blinded by desire, dismissed the caution. That night, as Adrian lingered near her market stall, she offered him a cup of cider laced with the shimmering liquid. Her heart raced as he drank, oblivious to the spell weaving itself around him. At first, it was everything Clara had dreamed of. Adrian arrived at her doorstep that very night, rain-soaked and breathless, declaring a love so sudden and overwhelming that Clara felt her chest might burst. Days turned into a haze of stolen moments, his devotion so intense it seemed to blot out the world. But as the days wore on, Adrian's affection grew darker, his gaze more piercing, his presence suffocating. His love became an obsession. He was always there, watching her, his jealousy smoldering like a fire about to rage. Clara's once gentle Adrian transformed into something unrecognizable. His appearance grew pallid, his eyes hollow, and at night his whispers, low, guttural and chilling, crept into her dreams like tendrils of smoke. She would wake to find him standing silently in the darkness, his face cast in shadows that seemed alive. By the time Clara understood the weight of her mistake, it was too late to undo it alone. The spell had festered, warping not just Adrian's soul, but the very fabric of his existence. In a panic, she sought Maud again, trembling as she recounted the horrors that had unfolded. The crone, her face grim, spoke of severance, a ritual that could break the bond, but would exact a cost far greater than Clara anticipated. With trembling hands and a heart heavy with dread, Clara prepared for the ritual. Candles flickered weakly in her small cottage, their light casting twisted shadows on the walls. As she uttered the incantation, Adrian arrived, his face a mask of rage and despair. The spell tore at him, a force unseen but felt as he writhed and screamed. His shadow stretched and twisted, clawing at the walls as though alive, until finally, with a shattering cry, Adrian's body crumpled to the floor. For a moment, there was silence, a stillness so profound it pressed against Clara's chest like a weight. Then she saw it. Adrian's shadow lingered, detached from his lifeless form, its shape warped, its eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. It moved of its own accord, shifting unnaturally, its edges frayed like a nightmare refusing to fade. Clara had broken the bond, but something far darker had taken its place. Adrian's shadow became her constant companion, a silent, stalking presence that filled her nights with whispers and her days with dread. No matter how far she ran or how fervently she prayed, the shadow followed, a reminder of the love she had forced and the horror she had unleashed. Now Clara lives alone, her laughter silenced, her dreams hollow. Her once vivid yearning has turned to ash, replaced by the weight of a shadow that will never leave her side. She learned too late that love, when twisted by desperation, can birth nightmares that haunt the soul forever. In the heart of a quiet village, nestled among lush green hills, there lived a girl named Anya, whose beauty was the talk of the land. Her hair was the color of ripened wheat, her eyes shimmered like emerald pools, and her skin glowed with the radiance of the morning sun. Men and women alike admired her, and whispers of her loveliness reached far beyond the village borders. Anya basked in their admiration, often standing by the well in the center of the village, to allow the townsfolk to see her beauty in the sunlight. The villagers adored her, but some elders warned her to be wary of the unseen eyes that might covet her beauty for sinister reasons. One fateful evening, as the crimson sun dipped below the horizon, a stranger arrived in the village. He was pale, with a face so sharp and symmetrical it seemed carved from alabaster. His eyes, black as obsidian, held a depth that both fascinated and unnerved anyone who met his gaze. Dressed in finery, unlike anything the villagers had ever seen, the man introduced himself as Damaso. Damaso courted Anya with an elegance and charm that none of the village boys could match. He brought her rare flowers that never wilted, and sang songs that seemed to echo with an otherworldly melody. Bewitched by his attentions, Anya quickly fell under his spell, dismissing the whispers of the villagers who warned her that he was not of this world. One moonlit night, Damaso invited Anya to his home. She eagerly followed him into the forest, her heart racing with excitement. As they walked deeper into the woods, the trees grew taller and more ancient, their gnarled branches forming a canopy that blocked out the stars. Eventually, they arrived at a grand mansion that seemed to shimmer under the moonlight. But as Anya crossed the threshold, the illusion shattered. The mansion was no more than a colossal ballet tree, its roots twisted and reaching into the earth like the fingers of a clawed hand. The opulent walls and chandeliers vanished, replaced by the eerie glow of fireflies and the faint hum of the forest. Damaso revealed his true nature. He was an encanto, a spirit of the forest who had been enchanted by Anya's beauty. He intended to keep her there, a jewel in his collection, forever young and untouched by time. Though his voice was soft and persuasive, Anya felt the cold grip of terror wrapping around her heart. Determined to escape, she feigned agreement, playing along with his desires. For days, or what she thought were days, she searched for a way out. She finally found her chance during a stormy night when the Encanto was distracted. Summoning all her courage, she fled the tree, running blindly through the dark forest until she collapsed on the edge of the village. When Anya stumbled into the village, disheveled and gasping for breath, the faces that greeted her were unfamiliar. The houses were different, and the streets felt foreign. Bewildered, She asked for her family and friends, only to learn that 20 years had passed since she vanished. Though her beauty remained untouched, her mind had fractured under the weight of the revelation. She wandered the streets muttering tales of a pale man and a mansion in the woods, clutching the wilted flowers he had given her. The villagers pitied her, yet none dared venture into the forest to confirm her story for fear of angering the spirits. Anya became a haunting figure, a cautionary tale for generations.